Hello again. Just a quick video today, just in response to the way things have been this spring. It's been pretty tough February, plenty of rain. So yeah, most people are finding it pretty difficult to get cows out grazing. And yeah, just in response to some of the advice and management notes I see out there, and some clients have contacted me sort of in a panic, you know, like we have to get 30% grazed by the 1st of March. And, you know, I just want to sort of dampen that down a bit, you know, like my usual term nowadays is to panic slowly. You have to be realistic. 30% graze in the second rotation, you're going to be going around maybe in a 20-day rotation. So you're going to get around 30% in the first week. So if you only get 10% grazed in February, then maybe you need to put your start of second rotation date out by 2 days. Not huge, you know, so yeah, let's not panic too quickly. We have to look at why we're trying to graze. Number one, you have to question whether cows are achieving intakes. You know, when you're putting them out to grass, are the cows actually grazing? Is there grass coming into the cows? There's no point putting cows out to grass for them to consume 2 kilos of dry matter. It's pointless. Keep them in. Number two is, are you achieving some kind of residual? Are the cows actually grazing the grass off? Because you're trying to graze the grass off to stimulate it to grow and to get it working for the second rotation. So, you know, putting the cows out to walk around and not actually nip the grass off, again, is a bit pointless. And number three, or perhaps this should be number one, number three is like, how much soil damage are you doing? You know, like how much damage do we accept? Everybody has a different line of where they accept the grazing damage, the soil damage being done. But, you know, more and more I'm reluctant to see cows doing too much damage. I think, you know, the whole purpose of this is to get grass back for the second rotation. And if you do a lot of damage, then you're just not going to have that. Every year I say the same thing, that when you graze paddocks in poor conditions in the first week of February versus paddocks grazed in good conditions in the first week of March, you'll usually be back grazing that paddock that you graze in the first week of March in good conditions before you get back to grazing that that damaged paddock that you grazed at the beginning of February. Also, quite often we still hit a really cold spell, like we'll get several frosty days in late February, early March, and it's almost like you need to graze that stuff off again. You know, that those paddocks you've grazed in early February, they quite often harden off again, and they almost need to be grazed off again to get them growing. Last year was such a good example of this, where I saw a lot of very flat wedges where the paddocks that were grazed in February were no better covers than the paddocks grazed in the first week of March. So look, you just have to look at being sensible about this, all right, and just keep the pressure off. But over and over I say the same thing to clients in Ireland and the UK, is that we need to be prepared for these sort of situations, and we need to have systems in place where we have good quality silage on hand to fill these deficits. And if you have really good quality silage on hand, then it does take the pressure off. Like, we need to feed cows. We can't be putting them out into paddocks to do a whole lot of damage, to not achieve intakes, and then cows not peaking well later on, because it's just senseless to have too much pressure on. So I'm just at a client's place over here in Wexford who has some really dry ground, and he's been able to get cows out grazing, and it looks really good. Yeah, as you can see, the cows are just turned out now. They've just arrived as I'm up here, and yeah, they're grazing nicely, and we're achieving really, really good residuals, you know. So when you look at the residuals that are being achieved, it's really, really excellent. The grass has been grazed off. They're going into a really, really nice cover. You know, the whole thing is to not go into too high covers. So the higher the grass cover you're going into, the more cows per hectare you need to have to graze it off. You know, your stocking intensity becomes higher, so you're more likely to do damage. So yeah, this is a really nice cover to have cows going onto when it's marginal like this and achieving good residuals. So yeah, just remember, panic slowly. When it comes to your nitrogen application, again, you know, very little can be achieved. For most places, it's been way too wet to start thinking about putting nitrogen on. Your greatest opportunity is to accelerate growth once you get paddocks grazed off. So I don't like to see more than about 15 to 20 kilos of nitrogen per hectare applied before the start of the second rotation. Senseless. The only thing you're doing is creating a massive level of losses, and the nitrogen that does get utilised is only a small proportion. Then a great proportion of that then stores and will be released when you do get massive growth rates, which then pushes those growth rates way in excess of where you want them to be when you're already sitting with growth well above demand. So these days I speak about nutrient density a lot, and for me that's a massive issue in Ireland and the UK, is nutrient density in pasture leading up to mating time. So yeah, at the moment I'm working on doing a bit of a video series on nutrient density in soils, but that's going to take me quite a while because I want to do a proper job on it, which is going to look at that a lot more. You know, like I'm going to be looking at nutrient density of our own foods we eat these days, and then looking at how it impacts the cows, how it impacts their health, their production, and your farm resilience, really. So so yeah, stay tuned for that one. But at the moment, I just wanted to do a quick video to say, panic slowly. Hopefully things come right going into March, and you know, like the covers you have at the beginning of April will be massively reliant on the conditions in March. Last year, March was phenomenal for grazing conditions, but it was really quite cold, so the growth was quite low. If we get good soil temperatures through March this year, then you might find that you start your second rotation pretty much at the same time as you did last year, even though you have less grazed in February. So the biggest thing I say to people is that once you get to about 50% of your platform grazed, it's time for a critical review. You sit down, you look at what's growing up behind you, and you project forward to make sure you understand when you should be starting your second rotation. So yeah, remember those 3 rules about judging whether you should be grazing: on cow intakes, grazing grass off, and soil damage. And when you get to 50% grazed, do a review and project start of the second rotation. Best of luck for the rest of calving and into the grazing season.